Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
What's going on YouTube? DIGGE546. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you're new. Like the video if you like the video. And I won't tell if you click that bell. But let's go ahead and get into this. All right, so the Giants has started off 1-0 for the first time since 2016. Literally, this is the first coach in Brian Dable to start off 1-0 since Ben McAdoo. Ben McAdoo started off 1-0 as a rookie head coach. He also was the last Giants coach, believe it or not, to be over 500. He was the last Giants coach. The last time the Giants were over 500 was literally the boat trip. And I'm not going to blame the boat trip, but that's literally the last time we were over 500. So just celebrate, people, being over 500 for the first time in 6 years. An entire child could have been born, have gone through preschool, have gone through kindergarten, and been in first grade. This has all happened since the Giants have last been over 500. That all has happened for a bunch of kids. So excuse the glare. The sun is coming in. I'm trying to keep the sun out. But either way, the Giants are over 500 for the first time in forever. So that's cause for celebration. So I'm going to start off with kind of like the overarching stats here to talk about what happened in this game. Started off, of course, we won the game 21-20. 81% completion. I can kind of go over the passing stats later when I go into Daniel Jones specifically. But 5 sacks we gave up, which isn't good. Our team only got 1 sack. 238 yards rushing, which I think is something that we kind of didn't notice. Of course, Saquon had a huge game, but he had 160, but we got another, 70 yards from other guys, from Daniel Jones, from from Daniel Jones, from Matt Breida, from Kadarius Toney a couple of times. That pretty much gave us an extra 70 yards. So that's good to see. 7.4 yards a carry. 3.6 yards per carry we gave up, which is great. 93 rushing yards for the Titans, who are the team that loves to run the ball. We really limited them, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. Some more of the situational things. 19 first downs for each team. They had 13 passing first downs. We had 7. They had 2 rushing first downs. We had 11. So we also gave them, which is something we don't want to do in the future, we gave them 4 penalty first downs. So that's 4, holding, defensive holding, pass interference type of penalties that we got to limit. A couple of other things I'll go into as I get through this whole game. But Daniel Jones only missed 4 passes, only, threw 4 incompletions. But the worst thing is one of those incompletions was a horrible interception. He said that he was going to that back shoulder pretty much on Saquon, but I mean, it was a miscommunication, and it just ended up looking like a really bad play from Daniel Jones. 188 yards. I kind of want to see some more sustained offense so we can, get some more yards that way. Saquon, of course, 18 carries, 164 yards, 9.1 average, longest 68. Let's see if there's anybody else calling out. The receivers no receiver really had a huge game. Sterling Shepard had 71 on 2 receptions. It's pretty solid. He had that one long catch. Ryan Tannehill was 266 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he only was sacked 1 time. We should have gotten a lot more pressure on him. And then Derrick Henry. This is how the Giants were able to get in the position to win this game. Derrick Henry, 21 attempts. They didn't go away from giving the ball. 21 attempts, 82 yards. So a long of 18, which, you're going to give that up at times. But 82 yards, 3.9 yards per carry is exactly what you want in that situation. So now I'm going to go starting off with the offense, defense, special teams. I'll give a couple of stats as I go through or at the end of this maybe. And then I'll do a Coach Dayball review, or Dable. Some people say Dayball, some people say Dable. Literally, they say it different in the Giants organization. But I'm going to go offense, defense, special teams, stats, next gen kind of stats, and then Dable. So the offense I had, they looked really lethargic most of the game. besides the big plays that they made. Saquon came through a bunch of times, made big runs for them. Matt Breida even had a couple of, 8-yard, 10-yard runs, maybe 12-yard runs. So besides those big plays that we made, which, yeah, I mean, you want to make big plays, but besides those big plays, it was really difficult for the Giants offense to sustain drives, convert on third down. We were only 2 of 10 on third down. That is unacceptable. It's really hard to win games on third down. It's hard to win games if you're only 2 of 10 on third down. But we did make big plays, which is, I talked about the big plays were how we scored, but we did make those big plays, and that's what we have been missing for the last 2 years. Pretty much no big plays, no explosive plays. So we did make those plays. So I got to give us a pat on the back for that. But I do want to see us sustain some drives. And then my second, thing I liked was we were 2 for 3 in the red zone. Besides that one interception from Daniel Jones, the Giants pretty much converted every single time in the red zone out of those 3 times. I mean, the 2 of the 3 times we converted. The play calling looked really good in the red zone. We were able to run the ball in the red zone. So that gives me hope that we can be a better run team or, a better red zone team. And we've been really bad in that spot for the last 2-3 years almost. I think actually Daniel Jones' rookie year, we were like really dominant in the red zone. But after that, these last 2 years, we've been horrible in the red zone. So it's good to see that we were able to convert at a pretty good rate in the red zone. Now I'll talk about the defense. Darnay Holmes is a true issue on this team. I expected Aaron Robinson to be the guy who was giving up a whole bunch of catches. I don't think he played too bad. But Darnay Holmes definitely played poorly. I don't have the stats for what he gave up, but I know he gave up about 3 or 4 holding penalties. I know he was holding all day. Even when he didn't give up a penalty that was holding, he was definitely doing it. I think he might have been the reason for all 4 of those penalty first downs. I'm pretty sure he was. I think he had 4 holding penalties. So he was holding all day. He was giving up catches. He was just not having a good game. And I kind of foresaw this. I kind of saw this. Darnay Holmes has been struggling for the past 2 years. As a rookie, he was a solid slot corner. But ever since last year, he has just been playing worse and worse and worse. And he needs to be replaced at the end of this season. I'd like to see Cordell Flott get some play in there. I mean, no one can be worse than that. No one can be worse than that as far as giving up all those penalties, giving up all those catches. So I'm sure they'll give him a chance to bounce back. But I'm ready to move on from Darnay Holmes. I'm hoping that maybe we can get Fabian Moreau in there across from Adoree Jackson, who I think played well. But hopefully Fabian Moreau can move to the outside corner across from Adoree Jackson, and then we can move Aaron Robinson to the slot where I think he belongs. So he did not look good at all. That's just my takeaway. No pass rush for the most of the game. We blitzed. A couple of times we had to make him make decisions a little bit quicker, but a ton of times we blitzed and it just didn't come through. A ton of times, we just weren't getting any pressure. And not Daniel Jones. Tannehill was just patting the ball. He was just sitting back there with all day to throw. A couple of times it showed how good the coverage had to be. Despite Darnay having such a rough day, it showed how good the coverage had to be a couple of times because he held the ball for like 5-6 seconds and wasn't able to convert. And that leads me to my next thing is we held them to 3 for 11 on third down, and that's the only reason we stood any chance of winning. We were 2 for 10, but they were 3 for 11. So our defense really stood up on third down, and if we can do that, every week, which is kind of hard to do, but if we can do that most weeks, I'm hoping that this defense is able to do something similar to that. We're going to be a really good defense overall. I mean, I don't see us being a dominant defense, but I think we can be pretty good if we can hold teams. If we can get off the field on third down. That's the number one thing you want to do. It's like grabbing a rebound and basketball. If you can't grab rebounds, you're giving guys second, third, fourth, sixth, whatever chances. So good to see that. And then the last thing that I loved was the tackling. I did not see that many yards after the carry, after catch, after contact. I just didn't see it. I didn't see that much of that for the Titans. Pretty much, even if we gave up 20, 30-yard catches, they were going down right in that spot. Like, there was no yards after catch. Derrick Henry barely got yards after contact, besides him just being a big body and falling forward. But really solid tackling, really, they were swarming to the ball. There wasn't just one guy tackling Derrick Henry, which is what I talked about in my pregame. We needed 1, 2, 3, 4 guys in the area every time, and they were definitely all there. So props to Wink, props to the defense, and props to Tate Crowder for the most part, doing a good job containing Derrick Henry and doing a good job swarming to the ball. But he did give up that one touchdown. I think he gave up one touchdown to Dontrell Hilliard. So he's got to do much better in pass coverage. He kind of got lost there. So special teams, Richie James looked really solid returning. He had a nice return. He had one where he kind of just stood there for a couple of seconds, like he thought that he was Devin Hester or something. But overall, he looked solid returning. I think he could give us, a spark, flip a lot of field position for us. Also, our punter, Gilliam, he looked really good. And I think I might be Jamie Gilliam. He looked really good. He had a couple of really nice punts. He had one, I think that was 69 yards, 69-yard punt. So he had a really nice day. He has a super leg. The first punt, he outkicked his coverage, and that's how they returned it so much. But he started to kind of get the hang of it, so I'm excited to see him continue to punt. They recovered the muff punt. So, yeah, they muffed it, but it takes some heart. It takes some hustle to go in there and grab that muff punt. And then the things I didn't like, of course, was the missed extra point, which almost would have cost us the game if we didn't get that 2-point conversion. The missed extra point really hurt us. And then another thing is we gave up a couple of returns that I wish that we didn't give up. A ton of yards we gave up returning the ball, I think 2 or 3 times. So they got to tighten up on that coverage unit. But overall, I thought special teams helped us a lot, but they also hurt us a lot. So now I'm going to go to a couple of stats that I just pulled out from looking at the next gen stats for NFL. Galladay had 6.92 yards of separation average. That led all receivers in the game, but he only got 2 targets. So I'm not sure if he was just running open most of the day. That's what the stats say, that he was running open for most of the day and he just didn't get the ball. So maybe next time we'll look towards Galladay more, but just to let you know, people, he led all receivers in the entire of all receivers in this game. He led them all in yards of separation on average. Daniel Jones had the 3rd least aggressive percentage in the league. So that shows you that a ton of guys that he was throwing to were open. It also shows that he wasn't really, aggressiveness percentage has to do with how often are you throwing in tight windows. So he didn't have to do that. So maybe you want him to throw into more tight windows. Maybe that would sustain some drives. But for the most part, the guys he was throwing to were pretty open, which shows, with his 81 completion percentage, only missed 4 passes. And then 6.3 yards of average intended air yards. That's his average for that. So not that far down the field. I think that's kind of, I wouldn't know where that ranked. I don't have it in front of me, but we probably want to see him throwing to the sticks more and past the sticks more. But again, as you see with the aggressiveness, he was not really attacking, in the tight coverage. And then lastly, 3rd in completion percentage over expected. So he was expected to complete 70% of his passes, 71, and he ended up completing 81%, or he's supposed to complete 72, and he ended up completing 81. So overall, a solid game from Daniel Jones. He had those 2 mistakes with the fumble and the interception, but other than that, solid game. If he can build off of this and clean up the mistakes, be a little bit more aggressive, you see it's 3rd least in the league. So if he can ramp up on that, then I think that can get us some more points. And then finally, a Coach Daboll review. I've been saying Daboll. I think that's how you pronounce it. He had a successful challenge. So he's 1-0 in the challenges so far. I really love the aggressiveness to go for 2. It's so motivating for the team to be in that situation and not be scared to lose, because Joe Judge always played not to lose. And it just was so satisfying to see him go for 2. And I was just saying on my stream, listen, if we don't get this, I'm still happy, because it shows that our coach wants to go out there and win games. He's not going out there just to, go through the motions. He's going out there to win games. He's not playing not to lose. He's playing to win. So I love that. I really loved it. And then the 2 things I didn't like was terrible games management at the end of the first half. Saquon runs the ball on first down. He gets about 9 yards. And then we literally let the clock go from 54 seconds all the way down to about 30 something seconds. So at that point, he let almost 30 seconds come off of the clock after that first down run. That was a really successful run. It accomplished what we wanted to accomplish. So he's got to manage the clock better at the end of that half. And I'm sure, it was his first game as a head coach. I'm sure he won't make that mistake again, but I hated that because it eliminated all chances we had at going and getting a field goal or going and getting a touchdown, because we got the ball down to their territory. We could have had, 1 or 2 more plays or even 3 or 4 more plays if we had gotten a timeout earlier on that drive. And then the last thing I didn't like is he didn't get all of our playmakers involved. And I say that is Kadarius Toney got 7 snaps. He touched the ball 2 times. Both times he touched the ball, he looked like one of the most dynamic players in the entire league. I mean, he's making guys miss. Like, you ever seen high school highlights where they're NFL players that end up going to the NFL and they're playing in high school and they make the entire team miss and they're reversing field? Kadarius Toney is one of the only players that I see that actually is able to reverse field safely and doesn't lose yards doing it. And we continue not to get him the ball. They're saying that, Dable's explanation for that was that he just wasn't in the packages that they were running that day. So I think that's inexcusable. I think you have to take advantage of that. I'm thinking it's probably something that he didn't get enough snaps and they're trying to make him earn it. Hopefully we see Kadarius Toney more, but that was definitely a black mark on Brian Dable's coaching yesterday. And then also Kenny Golladay, I don't know what they called or, if they called shot plays for him, but get the ball to Kenny Golladay. He led the league. He led the game in separation percentage or yards of separation yesterday. So he was definitely open. I don't know if that's just a Daniel Jones thing, but we have got to get our big money and big draft pick guys involved in the offense. But other than that, Brian Dable went out there, first game, beat a team that was better than him with his 2 edge rushers out, with Wan'Dale Robinson going out earlier in the game. So props to Coach Dable. Props to the Giants for starting off 1-0. You guys let me know what you want to see going into this next week. And I'm definitely excited to be starting off 1-0. And let me know what you're thinking about the Giants after this win down in the comments. If you made it this deep into the video, come on, just hit the subscribe button. I make Giants content primarily, draft content secondarily, and during the season I'm going to be doing a lot of reacting to pretty much most of the NFL games and everything NFL. So if you made it this deep, go ahead and join the D6 squad.